The Galactic Council Chamber was a masterpiece of harmony. Its architecture, a blend of every member species' aesthetics, radiated calm and unity. For Zatra, the young diplomat from the Lervian species, it felt suffocating. She adjusted her robes of office and flicked her earphones nervously as she reviewed the mission briefing once more. Humanity, the Council's newest members, and already the most divisive. A species known for its unpredictable behavior, chaotic societies, and an almost pathological obsession with conflict. Zatra had read the reports. Wars waged over invisible lines, entire civilizations devastated by their own inventions, and environmental catastrophes ignored until they reached the brink of collapse. Yet here they were, petitioning for greater integration into the Galactic Union. And now, Zatra's task was clear. Observe them, evaluate their behavior, and determine if humanity was a species the galaxy could afford to trust, or one it must quarantine forever. Zatra's transport landed in the heart of New Geneva, a sprawling metropolis on Earth's most stable continent. Despite the cool autumn air, the city felt chaotic. Crowds surged through streets, machines roared as they carried people to destinations, and every surface seemed to buzz with motion and sound. She was met by Captain Aaron Carter, humanity's chosen representative. Tall and broad-shouldered, Carter's presence radiated a kind of weary confidence. Her handshake was firm, her smile tight. "Welcome to Earth, Diplomat Zatra," Carter said. "I hope the journey wasn't too rough." Zatra tilted her head, her translator implant catching the meaning despite the strange phrasing. "Your planet is alive," she said cautiously, gazing at the frenetic activity around her. Carter smirked. "That's one way to put it. Come on, we're late for the meeting." The meeting was held in a high-rise overlooking the city. Zatra entered the room with measured steps, her fronds twitching as she scanned the humans gathered there. They were a diverse group, their appearances varying in ways Zatra found dizzying. Skin tones, clothing styles, even the way they gestured. All of it seemed inconsistent, uncoordinated. The discussion began simply enough: trade policies, technological exchanges, and logistical concerns. But as the hours wore on, the tone shifted. Voices grew louder. Carter slammed a hand on the table to emphasize a point, causing Zatra to flinch. Another human, a male with graying hair, gestured so wildly that Zatra half expected violence to erupt. The tension in the room felt like a physical weight. Zatra's fronds flattened against her head, a Lervian reflex to perceived danger. She whispered to Carter during a break, "Are they not about to fight?" Carter gave her a puzzled look. "What? No, we're just debating." "Debating?" Zatra repeated, incredulous. This aggression? This hostility?" Carter's expression softened, though her voice carried a hint of amusement. "You're seeing passion, not hostility. We care deeply about these issues, and sometimes that comes out in heated discussions. But no one's throwing punches. Not today, anyway." The meeting continued, and true to Carter's word, no violence occurred. When it finally ended, Zatra felt drained. She followed Carter to a quieter space, her fronds still quivering. "How can you tolerate this?" Zatra asked, unable to keep the frustration from her voice. "Your species thrives on chaos. How do you not tear yourselves apart?" Carter leaned against a railing, gazing out at the city lights. "Thrive? No, we don't thrive on chaos, Zatra. We survive it." Zatra tilted her head. "I don't understand." Carter's face turned somber. "We're not perfect. Far from it. But we've had to learn to adapt to chaos because it's always been part of who we are. It's messy, sure. But sometimes, in that mess, we find solutions no one else would." The cryptic answer left Zatra unsettled. She had expected humans to defend themselves with logic, to argue their case in neat, organized terms. Instead, Carter had revealed something raw, something deeply unsettling. As they parted for the evening, Zatra found herself staring out at the city again. The lights blinked and shimmered like a restless organism, pulsing with life. She couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to humanity than the reports had prepared her for. But was that a good thing, or a threat the galaxy couldn't afford to ignore? This chapter introduces the central conflict of the story, humanity's chaotic and unpredictable nature. It sets the stage for Zaitra's journey of discovery, while keeping the focus on her perspective and initial impressions. Let me know if you'd like to refine or expand any parts. Zaitra's first full day on Earth began with a tour. Carter, her human guide, seemed eager to show her the best and worst of humanity, as she put it. Zaitra found the phrasing unsettling. Their first stop was an urban district, a chaotic tangle of towering buildings, flashing advertisements, and a crush of people moving in all directions. The noise was overwhelming. Honking vehicles, shouting street vendors, music blaring from unseen sources. Zaitra's ear fronds pressed flat against her skull in an instinctive attempt to block it all out. "You call this organized?" Zaitra asked, her voice tinged with incredulity. Carter chuckled. "This isn't chaos. It's life. Every one of those people has a destination, a purpose. It might look messy, but it works." Zaitra observed the crowd more closely. To her surprise, Carter was right. Despite the apparent disorder, there was a rhythm to the chaos, a dance of thousands moving in unison without colliding. Even the vehicles seemed to follow an unseen choreography, weaving around each other with remarkable precision. From the city, they traveled to a quieter location, a war memorial. Tall stone pillars rose against the sky, etched with thousands of names. Carter explained its significance, a tribute to those who had died in a global conflict decades earlier. Zaitra walked among the pillars, reading the names. "You honor those who fell in violence. Does this not perpetuate the glorification of war?" Carter's jaw tightened. "No, we honor them because they fought for something bigger than themselves. Freedom, survival, the chance for future generations to live better lives. It wasn't perfect, but it mattered." Zaitra touched one of the pillars, her fronds quivering. She had read about human wars, bloody, relentless, and often senseless. Yet here, she saw something different. Remembrance, a recognition of loss and sacrifice. Their final stop was an area struck by a recent natural disaster. The ground was scarred, buildings reduced to rubble. Yet amidst the devastation, Zaitra saw humans working tirelessly, clearing debris, delivering aid, rebuilding homes. "How do you endure this?" Zaitra asked, astonished. "Your world seems to fight you at every turn." Carter paused, watching a group of volunteers hoist a beam into place. "We don't have a choice. When things fall apart, we come together. That's how we've survived. Every catastrophe has taught us something. About ourselves, about each other." Zaitra noticed the diversity among the volunteers. Humans of different ages, skin tones, and languages working side by side. She felt a strange pang of envy. Her own people valued order and harmony, but this chaotic unity was something else entirely. As they returned to the transport, Zaitra was quiet, her mind racing. Humanity's contradictions, destruction and resilience, chaos and unity, were unlike anything she had ever encountered. Carter broke the silence. "You're wondering if we're worth it, aren't you?" Zaitra hesitated. "I'm wondering how you haven't destroyed yourselves." Carter smiled faintly. "Some days we wonder that too. But as long as we keep trying, I think we'll be all right." Zaitra wasn't sure she agreed, but she couldn't deny the spark she had seen. The stubborn refusal to give up, even when everything seemed lost. This chapter focuses on Zaitra's growing understanding of humanity's resilience and its messy, chaotic nature, while continuing to highlight the cultural differences between her and Carter. It sets up her internal conflict as she begins to question her assumptions. Zaitra's third day on Earth began in calm, as she put it, but it didn't stay that way for long. The phrasing she was in the middle of reviewing humanity's urban district, a daunting collection of war footage, buildings, scientific flashing advertisements, and cultural triumphs, and a crush of people moving in all directions. "What is that sound?" The noise was overwhelming. Zaitra asked, honking vehicles, twitching anxiously, shouting street vendors. Carter stormed music into blaring the room from unseen her expression sources. Grim. Zaitra's "We've got a situation flat against a rogue AI virus in an instinctive attempt to block it all out. If it's you call this organized, cripple our power grids, Zaitra communications, her voice even tinged with incredulity. In some regions. Carter chuckled. Zatra felt the chill ripple through her body. It's life. How is every this one of those people has Does your species create threats even it cannot might look control. Messy. Carter didn't flinch at the accusation. Zatra observed the crowd more closely. But we're not just good at creating Carter problems. Was right. We're damn good Despite at fixing the apparent disorder. Come on. There was a Zatra rhythm followed to the Carter to a command center, a dance of thousands moving in unison. The room was filled with humans working. Even the vehicles seemed to follow their faces illuminated by the glow of screens. Weaving around each other were shouted, remarkable precision. Data streamed across from the city. Monitors. They traveled to a quieter location. What's the plan? A war memorial. Carter asked. Tall stone pillars rose against the sky. We've isolated the primary node. With thousands of technician names. Replied. Carter explained the virus is evolving faster. A tribute to those who had died in a global conflict. We've called in reinforcements earlier. White hat hackers, walked independent coders, anyone who can help. You honor those who fell in chaos in disbelief. Does this not perpetuate the glorification of war? Adapt or die, Carter's jaw her tone sharp. No, it's what we do honor best. Them because they fought for something bigger than themselves. Zatra watched in awe. Freedom, survival, coordinated effort for future generations to live better exchanging lives. Ideas and wasn't perfect with startling but speed. It mattered. Some shouted, others argued, one of the pillars, but no one stopped quivering. Even volunteers with no formal training contributed, bloody, relentless, and often fresh perspectives that experts hadn't considered. She saw something different. Zatra leaned toward Carter. Remembrance, your people, a recognition of loss they and thrive sacrifice. In this madness. Their final stop Carter glanced was an area struck by a recent natural disaster. The ground was scarred. Yeah, we're good at it. Buildings reduced to rubble. The trick isn't avoiding chaos. Yet amidst the devastation, it's figuring out how to make it work for you. Tirelessly. Suddenly, clearing a voice debris, called out, delivering We've got aid, a breakthrough, rebuilding Someone homes. From the Philippines How do you endure this? The virus's encryption key. Asked. The room astonished. Erupted in cheers. Your world seems within to fight minutes, you at every turn. The virus was contained. Carter paused. It's watching a group of volunteers and neutralized. A beam into place. The crisis was over. We don't have a choice. Zatra watched when things fall apart. We come mind racing. That's how we've survived. So prone every to conflict catastrophe and disorder has taught us something. Had just turned their greatest flaws into strengths. About each other. They hadn't Zatra noticed the diversity among the volunteers. Instead, humans of different ages together, using their diversity and languages working side by side. As she felt a strange pang of envy. Carter slumped into a chair valued order and harmony. But this chaotic unity what do you think of us now? Entirely. Zatra hesitated. As they returned to the transport, you are not. Zatra was quiet. Her mind species is chaotic. Humanity's contradictions and destruction and resilience. And yet you endure chaos and you unity. Adapt. I cannot deny anything she had ever encountered. Carter grinned faintly. Carter broke the silence. We aren't perfect, Zatra. You're wondering if we're worth it? We aren't even all right most of the time. Zatra hesitated. But when it counts, I'm wondering how you haven't destroyed yourselves. Zatra looked out at Carter smiled faintly. Some days we wonder that relaxing. But as long as chaos wasn't always a weakness, I think we'll be all right. This chapter highlights humanity's adaptability but she under couldn't pressure deny the spark and their ability to turn chaos the into stubborn refusal to give up while deepening even when every internal conflict about her assessment this of chapter humanity. Focuses on Zatra's growing understanding of humanity's resilience and its messy, chaotic nature, while continuing to highlight the cultural differences between her and Carter. It sets up her internal conflict as she begins to question her assumptions. The Galactic Council chamber was quieter than Zatra had ever experienced. Representatives from dozens of species sat in a semicircle, their expressions ranging from wary to outright hostile as they waited for the hearing to begin. At the center of the room, humanity's fate hung in the balance. Zatra stood before the council, her ear fronds flat against her head. Her report would decide whether humanity would be welcomed further into the Union or isolated for the galaxy's safety. Diplomat Zatra, intoned the council speaker, a towering Varian with shimmering scales. You have spent time among the humans. Present your findings. Zatra's gaze shifted to the human delegation, led by Captain Carter. For the first time since their meeting, Carter looked uncertain. Zatra swallowed hard and began. Honored Council, Zatra said, her voice steady despite the tension in the room. I was sent to Earth to evaluate humanity. I expected to find a species defined by chaos and destruction, and I did. Their history is one of wars, environmental neglect, and dangerous inventions. They are emotional, unpredictable, and often reckless. A murmur rippled through the chamber. The council speaker raised a hand for silence. Zatra continued, but that is only part of the truth. Humanity's chaos is not a flaw, it is their essence. And in that essence lies their strength. Her words hung in the air, met with stunned silence. They are a species that refuses to succumb, Zatra explained. When faced with disaster, they rally. When presented with impossible odds, they innovate. During my time on Earth, I witnessed them respond to a crisis that could have devastated their planet. Instead of succumbing to fear, they united. Scientists, engineers, civilians, individuals of every background, worked together to stop the threat. Their success was not due to perfect planning but to their adaptability and resilience. The murmurs grew louder, some council members shaking their heads in disbelief. A Zelthan delegate, known for their species' meticulous planning, stood. Resilience born of recklessness, they said. How can we trust a species that creates its own catastrophes? Zatra turned to face them. You cannot, she admitted. Not entirely. But trust is not built on perfection. It is built on the willingness to rise above mistakes. Humans may stumble, but they always rise again. And in doing so, they uncover solutions that no other species would dare to seek. Carter stood then, her voice firm but impassioned. We aren't all right. We never have been. But we've learned to make the best of what we are. We fight, we struggle, and sometimes we fail. But we never stop trying. That's what makes us worth the risk. The chamber fell silent again. Slowly, the council speaker turned to Zatra. Your final recommendation, diplomat? Zatra hesitated, then drew herself up. I recommend we give humanity a chance, not because they are safe, but because they are necessary. Their flaws are their strength, and their potential is unmatched. After a tense deliberation, the council voted. By a narrow margin, humanity was granted provisional membership under strict observation. As Zatra prepared to leave, Carter approached her. Thanks for sticking your neck out for us, she said. Zatra's fronds twitched in amusement. You are a dangerous species, Captain Carter. But perhaps danger has its place, and for the first time she truly believed it. This chapter delivers the climax and resolution, where Zatra's observations and humanity's actions lead to a powerful defense of their place in the galaxy. It reinforces the themes of resilience, adaptability, and the balance between chaos and strength.